Welcome back to the Armchair Meddler, where I review news videos usually of a sensational nature and I give you my opinion. Even though you didn't ask for my opinion, that's what makes me the Armchair Meddler. Okay, so today looks like we have a police pursuit. And I want to remind you that I have not watched this video beforehand, so I will be experiencing it along with you for the very first time. Let's see what the title is. Chase. Driver in stolen Scion car leads CHP on chase through LA. Okay. So before we get into this video, make sure you're subscribed. Also press that like button. Now let's not delay. Let's get into the video.
This is concerning because he sees a few brake lights. Traffic is obviously slowing down here. The driver is clearly getting frustrated, looking for any gap to either squeeze through or just get off the freeway. My worry here is that when he gets off the freeway, if this type of driving continues, I don't want to see this end up on surface streets where you've got this kind of a wild driver behind the wheel of essentially a little van like this or an SUV on surface streets. So right now he's hugging that right lane, looking for any gaps to squeeze through, and right now just that one black and white behind him. Right, Rob? If we widen out, just the one so far. So trying to get some more backup in here. Only the one primary unit behind him. Yeah, you're right. He had a couple of opportunities right there to get off of the freeway. He didn't take any of them, and he is now fully committed to the westbound side of the 10 freeway. So he made his way down the 60 freeway into the East LA interchange, and through all those spaghetti lanes there, he's ended up on the westbound side of the 10 freeway, now making his way through downtown LA, where, as I look out the window from Air 7 HD, it only gets slower from here. This is still the time of the night where a lot of folks are heading home from downtown to the west side towards the 405 via the 10 freeway, and traffic in many parts are bumper to bumper. Yeah, really concerning about, just imagining what this person might be capable of, whether it's just a lack of competence behind the wheel, maybe there's something wrong with the vehicle that we're not aware of, but in any event, just the wild last-minute turns of that wheel, and look at that. I mean, he's just tailgating some of these other cars. He's obviously got pressure coming from behind him, lights and sirens blaring, traffic's only doing about 30 miles per hour. It would be great if it wasn't so busy, because then they could do a perfect pit maneuver. But with this kind of traffic, obviously that's pretty much off the table, and he's just getting too close for comfort to all of these other cars. Here's another one, a secondary unit joining the pursuit. So CHP now has 2 units in position. No helicopters yet. Incidentally, there is a helicopter on the way. CHP is now pulling up now. So CHP has a helicopter overhead, 2 ground units behind him. Here comes the night sun. You can see that light now pointing in his direction. So they're starting to zero in on him. He is losing, the likelihood of him getting away here is going down. So again, 2 units behind him. I think they'd love to see a 3rd unit in that complete pursuit package.
So this little Scion, I just want to comment on that vehicle. Yeah, that it only has a little 4-cylinder engine in there, a little tiny 4-cylinder engine in there. Top speed is probably going to be 90, 95, maybe 100 miles per hour. But also that whatever, it's like a cross between an SUV and like a van. the handling on this thing is not going to be good. Okay, when it comes to rounding corners and stuff like that, forget about it. It's just not going to be that good. Acceleration also isn't going to be that good. So, yeah, I don't think this person is going to get away from those CHP cruisers.
And then they can give the go-ahead if they have the opportunity, either on the freeway or off the freeway, for either a pit maneuver, maybe spike strips, maybe some other tactic. But in any event, right now he is just, trying to weave through all this rush hour traffic. That was the 110. So he just went under the 110 freeway. Yeah, and still hugging those left lanes. Again, no signs. Trying to get off the freeway despite all of the opportunities. He's pretty committed here and continuing to push it to upwards of 80 to 90 miles per hour. Again, at one point when we first joined you, close to 100 miles per hour. I can't imagine that Scion can go much beyond that. He's really pushing this vehicle to its extreme limits here. And, so far, he's been successful, still about 80 miles per hour here. He's got some open 10 freeway ahead of him, and then it's going to slow down a little bit more once he gets closer to Robertson. And you've got to wonder whether over the course of this pursuit, which has now been going on for at least 45 minutes or so, whether he has come in contact with anybody else. I mean, just judging by some of the really erratic moves we've seen and some of the really close calls, you at least have to wonder what transpired earlier on in this pursuit. Was it originally a CHP pursuit? Was it handed off to CHP by another agency? Those are details we're still trying to figure out, but nonetheless, CHP taking this over, they are now the primary agency, and they will hand this off to their various stations along the way here. So this is now in CHP's West LA jurisdiction. I think that might have even been a new primary unit that took over just about a mile back there. So they are handing this off. They do have 2 units committed to it, and I would imagine trying to get a third, and if they can, they'll start to perform a traffic break, especially considering the number of other people around him here. He could, yeah. He's now coming up. He's in basically, we just went through Mid-City. Now we're basically in West LA proper, and the next jurisdiction will be Santa Monica. If he continues to hug those left lanes, it'll take him all the way to PCH, and he could end up, riding the beach up or down on PCH. We'll see here. Yeah, and ironically, some guys have all the luck because as we make our way further west here, it does start to open up quite a bit. Ironically, all of the eastbound traffic on the opposite side of your screen, you can see how slow that's going. But the direction he's going in is actually looking pretty favorable for him until he gets a little bit closer to the 405. He does have the option of the 405 coming up here in the next couple of miles. We're just passing Culver City, still holding steady in that number one lane, that far left fast lane. They're right behind him, but again, he's going to have some big decisions coming up here between Venice Boulevard, the 405, and then a few exits in Santa Monica before hitting PCH. They do, certainly do, occasionally in certain situations, depending on the charges and depending on the traffic conditions. The primary concern here is the safety of the general public. So they don't want to put anybody else in exceptional danger. They want to limit the risk to, the personal risk and property risk. But right now, it's on the freeway. This is their happy place. This is their jurisdiction. They are very comfortable with this pursuit on the freeway. And from the driving we're seeing, it's really the safest place for it to stay. They don't have to do anything too crazy. They just want to keep a visual of him. They don't want to lose him. Time is on their side. They have unlimited units that they could pour in here and dedicate to this pursuit. He is working on a finite tank of gas that eventually will start to slow him down. Unclear, obviously, how much he started with here, how much gas is in the tank, but he only has a finite amount of time where CHP can continually swap out those units, follow at a safe distance, and especially as long as he's driving relatively safely. He's moving around a lot, weaving around a lot, and going pretty fast, but not speeds that are unattainable for CHP. Those Chargers can easily keep up with that Scion. Yeah, some of that heavier traffic out of downtown LA really opened up for him, and I got to tell you, on most nights, this side of the 10 freeway is not normally this empty. But as I mentioned, some guys do indeed have all the luck, and certainly it seems to be his lucky night here in West LA. We're now coming up on the 405 freeway. That's important because he's not even showing a sign of shifting over to the right. Certainly appears as if he's going to go over the 405. Yeah, I don't think they have enough units to even think about a traffic break just yet. They only have those 2 units in position still. Presumably, there's more up ahead. Actually, I understand there are 2 more further back that are joining the pursuit. So they may be able to close off some of this traffic behind him here and prevent him from mixing too much with other motorists. But at these speeds, it's a little bit difficult, and there's just enough moderate.
So I don't know if they said earlier, the guy in the helicopter, I don't know if they said earlier why this person is running. I'm trying to understand what the reason is. Is it a stolen car? Is this person accused of some other crime? Because if it's just simply speeding, I don't understand why this person would do this unless they have warrants, possibly.
Traffic ahead of them where, shutting off the freeway and closing off entrance ramps is a little bit difficult without enough manpower. Just past the 405, coming up, we're just past Bundy now, so we're coming up on downtown Santa Monica, essentially. It does. PCH is a state road, and that is certainly CHP's jurisdiction. So he's going to move through Santa Monica into Pacific Palisades, assuming that happens, assuming he takes us through the McClure Tunnel onto PCH. He'll move through Santa Monica, up through the Pacific Palisades, and then they have the option of continuing the pursuit. They could hand this off to the Sheriff's Department. They have their Lost Hill station up there. They're well equipped to deal with this, or they can keep the pursuit in CHP's hands here. So they have the option at their disposal. They could. I have a feeling they're going to follow this to the end, especially, with the driving we're seeing here. It's just a matter of time before they find an opportunity. I mean, it's not out of the question if you find an empty gap on PCH, maybe they find an opportunity for a pit maneuver, but it depends on traffic. I'm trying to look out the window here, and there are some reasonable gaps on PCH, and then once you get up towards Temescal, there's a little more traffic. So he's going to have an empty stretch here. Sure enough, he is indeed coming up on Ocean Boulevard, and the next stop is going to be PCH here. So good question. Certainly something you don't see on the freeway, but now that we're getting off the freeway, PCH has very few exits. It's a great place for a spike strip attempt as long as you can, aim it directly at him and not involve any other motorists. So there are a few other cars. That might complicate things. There's one unit up ahead here. Maybe waiting. No, he's writing a ticket for somebody else. Never mind. There's another one, though. There's another one coming up here that might be setting up for something. There's a gas station along PCH here. He's got his lights flashing. Not sure if he is involved in something else, or perhaps setting up for that spike strip, which I got to say, David, this would not be the worst place in the world for a spike strip if they had the space.
I think there's just too many other cars around to do a spike strip, because you don't want to puncture the tires on all these other cars.
Ocean Avenue, that's the bottom of the incline, the bottom of the Santa Monica incline, continuing on PCH, northbound PCH, right through that intersection. Looked like they had the red light there, continued right through, and now this is that emptier stretch I was telling you about. So CHP about 4 or 5 car lengths behind them, continuing northbound along the beach.
Okay, so here, this area would make sense for a spike strip, because there's really no other cars around on his side of the highway.
And there are occasional lights like this one right here. He's got the red light going right through the red light. This is concerning because in the last couple of minutes, while most of this pursuit has been on the freeway, we are now on PCH, which is kind of a hybrid between a highway and a surface street, because traffic kind of fluctuates as you come up on these intersections. And with the aggressive driving that we have seen and some of the really erratic behavior, even on the freeway that we saw, I really worry if he encounters another intersection where he's got nowhere to go. I can imagine this guy jumping right into oncoming lanes of traffic, doing whatever it takes to get away from that primary unit. Yeah, it is definitely darker than the freeway, but it's darker, but it still has lights. I mean, there are lights up and down PCH to a point until you get further up into Malibu, then it gets much darker, obviously. Right now, we're still in the Pacific Palisades area. Sunset Drive, I think, is coming up here, and then we just passed Sunset. Did we just pass Sunset? I think we passed Sunset. So now, once he gets past the Getty, that'll be the entrance into Malibu, and you can see already as we get further up here, traffic is dwindling. There are much fewer cars up here, and that may provide them with an opportunity, as you mentioned, either for a spike strip or potentially a PCH pit. Yeah, a little bit of shoulder action there. That shoulder is not reliable. There are portions of PCH that have a shoulder, and then there are portions where it is just dirt or rocks. So as he's making his way further up here, just trying to weave through traffic, employing that shoulder where he can. He's got a middle divider for now. Even that is going to start to thin out here. He's going to have less pavement to play with. But right now, you can see him speeding up quite a bit here. We'll throw up the real-time speed tracker as he continues northbound on PCH at about 60 miles per hour. That's just above the speed limit, so not extreme speeds here. But if he continues, it's going to pose a real problem. But look at that. There's a real stretch right here where if they were right up behind him, if he was going slow enough, which he's not, if he managed to slow down even a little bit, then they can consider that pit. I'm going to ask our photographer, Rob Gluckman, to widen out just a little bit. I think those primary CHP units, they have indeed pulled back. So you still see the night sun, but those CHP ground units have now pulled back almost completely, leaving it to CHP's helicopter to basically track him. So this goes to what you were talking about earlier, Colleen. They have now made a fairly conscious decision to pull back on him, maybe take a little bit of pressure off, and let the helicopter do some of the work here, especially along PCH where, you don't want to get anybody hurt, with the little traffic that there is here. He is desperate. He is desperate. Look at those two cars here. You're going to see, they want to get out of his way. He's looking for any space to squeeze through. And what they hope when they pull back like this, and they kind of leave the driver to his own devices, pull back those primary units to kind of take some of that pressure off, the hope is that the driving slows down, the composure behind the wheel improves, and that the driving becomes a little bit less erratic and less dangerous. Right now, it's kind of a coin toss. I can't tell whether he's really taking that opportunity to take a deep breath and calm down. He's not weaving as much as he was until he encounters some of that traffic you saw merely maybe 2 or 3 minutes ago, jumping on that shoulder. So it still seems like he's very agitated, despite the fact that there's nobody right behind him. They just turned it off, David, and they have officially 1022'd the pursuit, which means they are now canceling the pursuit. They are dedicating their resources elsewhere, and for the time being, it appears this person is going to get away. We are asked often how many of them get away. Well, this is one of that roughly 30% who is encountering a lucky night here. They did give the option.
Okay, so I'm wondering if they are actually canceling this pursuit, or are they just going to monitor where he goes and catch up with this person later? So yeah, I'm just wondering about this. Do they know who this person is? Because evidently, if they're canceling this pursuit, that means that's not a stolen vehicle or anything like that. So if this is the registered owner, then yeah, they can catch up with this person later. But like I said, I haven't watched this video, but I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this video that they do end up catching this person by the end of this video, because they just back off and catch up with them later, maybe in the video. But anyhow, let's see what happens.
To the LA County Sheriff's Department to pick up the pursuit. They have declined. So the Sheriff's Department says we're not interested. CHP says we have other things to take care of. And it looks like this guy is getting away. What I'm looking for now is, again, to see now that that decision has been made, now that the flashing lights are off and the helicopter is pulled off, does the driving change? And it looks like it has a little bit. He's slowing down a little bit, kind of sticking to one lane, not nearly as aggressive as he was, but just knowing what this guy's capable of, it's still very concerning to have somebody like this driving up PCH like this. But in any event, law enforcement making the decision that this one just was not worth it. You got it. You got it. Thank you. I think that this is pretty much a lost cause at this point. Nobody's picking it up, and unfortunately, we're in the backup. So the further up we get into Malibu, our radios aren't too great up here either. All right, copy that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Wow, so it looks like this person got away. That is not what I expected, but I wonder if they're just going to pick this person up on a later date, if they were able to get this person's plates, if they know where this person lives, if they will just show up to their house one day and possibly make an arrest that way. But anyhow, yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Armchair Matther. Once again, if you aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, press that like button, and we will see you on the next episode.